Well, 2017 is over, and it was a terrible year for leftists. Or in other words, a great year for America. What's going to happen in 2018? Here are my top 5 predictions. Number 1, the Super Bowl will be played between the New England Patriots and some other team. Approximately 76 people will attend the game, but the audience will be boosted by the hundreds who tune in for its live broadcast on Spike TV. The halftime show will feature Chelsea Handler singing her new hit song, Screw You America, and Your Stinking Flag Too. And it'll include a massive dance number representing the United States Army's oppression of indigenous peoples around the world. After the game, NFL executives will hold a meeting to discuss the mysterious decline in their ratings. They'll conclude they need more outreach to transgender people. Prediction number 2. CNN will break an exclusive story detailing how President Trump personally funneled top-secret defense information to the Russian ambassador in exchange for a permit to open a new Trump resort in Moscow. Several hours later, CNN will issue a clarification stating it was not President Trump, but his personal friend Melvin Hankey, and it was not defense information, but a bottle of wine, and it was not the Russian ambassador, but some girl named Lily Bernstein, and it was not in exchange for a building permit in Moscow, but in exchange for $20, and that Hankey was not Trump's friend, but works in a liquor store Trump sometimes used to walk past. A day later, CNN will issue a clarification stating that Trump never walked past the liquor store. Prediction number 3, the Academy of Motion Pictures, Arts and Sciences will hold its annual Academy Awards ceremony at which every presenter will be played by Christopher Plummer. Mr. Plummer will deliver the Best Picture honors to the independent production, A Man in Sheep's Clothing, which the New York Times will describe as an important look at society's oppression of African-American lesbians forced to transition to manhood in order to consummate their relationships with farm animals. After the event, Academy executives will meet to discuss the mysterious decline in the show's ratings. They'll conclude they need more outreach to out-of-work NFL executives. Number 4, after the exposure of more sexual harassment in the workplace, feminists will demand that men financially support their wives so that women can escape abusive work conditions and concentrate on homemaking and raising children. Feminists will further protest an American patriarchy that oppresses women by allowing them to vote and thus pressuring them to participate in male structures like politics and government. Prediction number 5, working in a secret lab in the White House basement, Donald Trump will develop a cure for cancer while directing military operations that wipe out radical Islam during the greatest economic boom in American history. And in reaction, the National Review will run a cover story entitled, Yes, but is he really an intellectual? Trigger warning, I'm Andrew Klavan, and this is The Andrew Klavan Show.
I feel hunky-dunky, life is tickety-boo. Birds are winging, also singing hunky-dunky-doo. Ship-shape, tipsy-topsy, the world is zippity-zing. It's a wonderful day, hurrah, hooray! It makes me want to sing. Oh, hurrah, hooray! Oh, hooray, hurrah!
All right, I hope you had a great holiday. Happy New Year. I was in New York. I had a wonderful time. And then we got off the plane coming home on Friday, and I turned to my wife and said, you know, I'm feeling a little odd. And she said, so am I. And we then, within hours, collapsed into a flu that nearly carried off the both of us. We've spent 3 days, the two of us, mostly unconscious. But so this show is not just a podcast, folks. This is an act of courage, kind of like, you know, a feminist march. You know, it's like an act of courage that doesn't require any courage and isn't actually an act. But here it is. I'm here, and I still am a little under the weather. So it is kind of like a feminist march. We have Michael Knowles is going to come on, and we will have some predictions for the current year, which will be guaranteed 100% correct. And the mailbag is tomorrow, if we can do it. Now, I hope people will come in. You know, it's a short notice, but if you have questions about your personal life, about politics, about religion, send them in. And here is how you do it. Go on the Daily Wire webpage. You got to be a subscriber. You should be, at this point, come on, you should be a subscriber. It's a lousy $10 a month, lousy $100, gets you an entire year, plus the Leftist Tears tumbler. But, can you see the Leftist Tears tumbler? If you subscribe, go on the website, hit podcasts, hit my podcast, and then on the podcast page, right, it says, I always want to get this right, it says mailbag, and press that and then send in your question. Answers are guaranteed 100% correct and will change your life on occasion for the better. Meanwhile, let us give you some free food. because that's why we're here. You know, this is a charitable show, and we are here to give you free food through Blue Apron, our sponsor, which is actually teamed up with Whole30. If you don't know who Whole30 is, Google them. It's Whole and the number 30. They have a very innovative new approach to nutrition and everything, and they have teamed up with Blue Apron for 8 weeks, ending on February 26th. And they're bringing you delicious new recipes that are both Whole30 recipes and Blue Apron. Blue Apron, of course, is the biggest meal kit delivery service in the U.S. It brings these ingredients to your home within 30 minutes, 45 minutes, following the simple instructions. You can put together homemade restaurant-level meals, and they are really good. They offer 12 new recipes each week, and customers can pick 2 or 3 or 4 recipes based on what best fits their schedules. They send only non-GMO ingredients and meat with no added hormones, and they deliver fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and step-by-step recipes right to your door. Let me show you some of the stuff they've got, because it really is incredible. I mean, this is the stuff you can make at home with Blue Apron. Wait a minute. Can we show them? Steak Diane with mushroom pan sauce and mashed potatoes. You got it. General Tso's chicken with bok choy and jasmine rice. And then the Whole30 approved Mexican spiced barramundi with kale, sweet potato, and avocado salad. And Whole30 approved Togarashi chicken lettuce cups with avocado. Why do I say they're free? Because Blue Apron is treating my listeners to the first 3 meals, a $30 value with your first order if you visit blueapron.com/Andrew. Blueapron.com/Andrew. You get the first 3 meals, a $30 value for free. So check out this week's menu. Get your $30 off with free shipping at blueapron.com/Andrew. Blue Apron, it is a better way to cook. So before I start talking about Iran, which is what we really have to talk about, I have to tell you what I saw in New York, because it has given me a new theory of Donald Trump, which I haven't heard anybody else say or anybody else notice. Now, you have to understand, I'm in New York a lot. I'm in at least 2 or 3 times a year. So it's not like things change vastly when I go from one time to another. But I'm there for Christmas. It's freezing cold, absolutely freezing, like 15 degrees on a good day. And first of all, the city is booming. I mean, everything is great. This Christmas is obviously going well. Everybody's happy. Everybody's flush. But I started to notice that first, people were aggressively saying Merry Christmas. And it's not just me. People had stopped saying Merry Christmas. They had started saying Happy Holidays. And even I, the most politically incorrect human being on earth, the person who really, I'm not politically correct because I don't pay enough attention to be politically correct. I don't care what people say is politically correct. But even I had stopped saying it, kind of on the idea that I was offending people or something like this. And suddenly people were looking you in the eye. I mean, I'm not the only person who noticed this, because I started talking to people about it, and they all said, yeah, it's definitely happening. People were looking you in the eye and going, Merry Christmas. And it was kind of like, I thought, okay, like I'm already having a Merry Christmas, but thanks for saying it. But it was aggressive. The other thing that happened is I frequently, always, if I can, open the door for women or allow women to enter elevators first. Maybe 5 or 6 times, a woman turned to me and said, "That's so kind of you. Thank you so much." But like that, not like intentionally, not like thanks a lot. Oh, how nice. Thank you. It was like turning to me, facing me, looking me in the eye, saying, the culture is changing. The culture is Trumpifying. The culture is changing, and it is changing in a dynamic way beneath the surface. So people, this is New York, right? This is the heart of liberal darkness. This is a place where I heard people make the argument that Kim Jong-un wasn't so bad because if Donald Trump disliked him, he couldn't be so bad. But the culture changes, as I keep trying to tell conservatives, the culture changes almost unseen, almost against people's will. It just changes. And this is something that is happening. Now, I have 2 things I want to say about this. The first is my old theory, the theory I kind of introduced at the end of last year, which is that Donald Trump is Randall Patrick McMurphy. And for those of you who don't remember One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, which now is an old book and an old movie, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest is about an insane asylum that is run by Nurse Ratched. And Nurse Ratched pretends to be the sweet, motherly, all-protecting, all-loving mother figure but in fact is a castrating horror of a nightmare who keeps these men sort of stuck in their own insanity and grinding their own wheels and really undercuts their manhood at every turn. Read Hillary Clinton. Randall Patrick McMurphy is a kind of a jerk. He's a rowdy, obscene, violent, law-breaking character, but he is the one person who is willing to stand up to Nurse Ratched because he hasn't gotten any restraints on his personality. His personality is so out of whack that he is willing to stand up to Nurse Ratched no matter what it costs, which ultimately, of course, is the question of the story. My point about Donald Trump was that, yes, he is rude. He is outlandish. He does things that I may not approve of in terms of my life, but he has broken this soft tyranny, and it is the soft tyranny of insanity. When I compare America to an insane asylum, I'm not kidding. When you consider, think about this for a minute. Because, it's kind of like dealing with your mother-in-law, or, not to use a cliche, but dealing with some relative that you don't like and you think she's saying hostile things about you and you think that every comment she makes is secretly hostile, but you can never convince anybody else because she never says anything that's openly hostile. So she says, that's a nice dress. And what she means is you look like an idiot, but you can't. He said, well, she said it was a nice dress. And you think, well, that's okay, but no, it's not. And so stuff happens in America. Stuff happens that we know is bad and we protest it, but we don't know in our hearts it's bad. We don't really feel how bad it is. So consider this for a minute. Surely the greatest problem of our time in terms of enemies, in terms of foreign enemies, is radical Islam, Islamic terrorism. Now, the big question about Islamic terrorism is it inherent in the Islamic philosophy? Is terrorism inherent in the Quran and in Islamic belief? Or is it a cancer that has grown on Islamic belief? Both those things are possible. I would like to hear experts debate that at length. I'm not sure. I can't really say. I don't feel like I have a deep enough relationship to the Quran or to Islam to know whether Islamic terrorism is somehow inherent in the faith or if it's a cancer on the faith. That's open to debate. For 8 years, we had a president who would not say the word Islam in conjunction with terrorism. There's only one kind of terrorism in the world today. It's Islamic terrorism. That's the only kind there is. Everything else is an outlier. Everything else, obviously there are going to be other kinds of terrorists, but they're so small. It's such a piddling fraction of the daily murder and mayhem that goes on in the name of Allah that, this is a major issue. For 8 years, the president of the United States, the most powerful nation on earth, would not say the word Islam in connection with terrorism. That's not bad or good. That's nuts. That's insane. That's why I'm talking about an insane asylum. That's why I'm talking about Randall Patrick McMurphy. The same thing with men and women. Men and women are the same. Men and women, there's no difference between men and women. Anybody who says there is sexist. A man can be a woman. A man can declare himself a woman. All this stuff. Insane. Donald Trump has broken through that insanity. And here's the second part of my theory. And this is the new part of my theory. All right. This is a theory. I'm just going to put it forward and we can think about it all year. We'll come back to it through the year to see if I'm right. People like Donald Trump even when they hate him. Okay, this is my theory, that people like being free of insanity, even if the guy who did it, who freed them, is Randall Patrick McMurphy, somebody they don't want over their house. People are happy. People are happier to be able to say Merry Christmas. It's insane not to say Merry Christmas. It's insane to question every American holiday. Thanksgiving is bad because Indians died, and Columbus Day is bad because Indians died, and Christmas is bad because Indians died, or whatever happens on Christmas. I don't know what happened on Christmas to the Indians, but I'm sure it was bad. So all this stuff is insane, and people are happy to be free of insanity. And I think that this is something that is infecting the culture. I'm talking about New York now. It's something that is infecting the culture of America, even as CNN lies and NBC lies and the New York Times lies. Listen, Donald Trump made his usual radio address and his end of the year address. Listen to the way he talks, okay, this is cut number 3. Listen to the way Donald Trump talks. Obviously, he's praising his own accomplishments. He's saying we accomplished all these wonderful things, healthcare, tax reform, and jobs, and the stock market, blah, 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 and ISIS is destroyed. He's all touting his own things. But just listen to the way he talks about the country. This is cut number 3.
Optimism is everywhere. Enthusiasm is booming. And the thrilling American adventure has never looked brighter. We are facing old challenges with new solutions, and we are seizing new opportunities with brimming confidence and boundless resolve. Because of you, your patriotism, your devotion, your love for your family, we will be able to pass on the blessings of American liberty and prosperity to our children and our grandchildren. Together, we are protecting our magnificent heritage and reaching for glorious destiny.
Glorious destiny. Optimism is everywhere. America is great again. Now listen to Obama in 2013. Now remember, this is his second term, right? So this clown has been in office, mucking things up for now 5 years. Listen to Obama talk about America.
The combined trends of increased inequality and decreasing mobility pose a fundamental threat to the American dream, our way of life, and what we stand for around the globe. We know that there are airport workers and fast food workers and nurse assistants and retail salespeople who work their tails off and are still living at or barely above poverty. And that's why it's well past the time to raise a minimum wage that in real terms right now is below where it was when Harry Truman was in office.
So the American dream is dying, says Obama, and the only way we can fix it is by raising the minimum wage, which is all the government can ever do is help the minimum, right? All it can ever do is codify mediocrity. And that was, who wouldn't like Trump better? I mean, and Trump's solution, Obama's solution is a minimum wage. Trump's solution, as he puts it, is jobs, jobs, jobs. In that same speech, is jobs, jobs, jobs. And let me tell you something else. This was on the Wall Street Journal front page this morning. Is for the first time in, who knows how long, wages are starting to rise. They're starting to rise. Why? Because there's so many jobs that they have to pay more to get the best people, right? When there are a lot of jobs, it becomes a buyer's market. It's great. This is a great thing. The wages are suddenly going up. It doesn't take the government. It took the government to get out of the way. It always takes the government to get out of the way. Of course people like Donald Trump. Of course they want to hear that things are going well. Look, you can say, Obama was telling the harsh truth and Trump is lying, but I don't think so. I think Trump is talking something helping to talk something into existence. Part of the rise in the stock market has been the simple sound of optimism coming out of the president's mouth, along with the rollback in regulations and the tax cuts and all this. Part of it has just been the sound of optimism coming out of this guy. Of course people like him, and I think people like him who think they hate him. I think this is going to show in the midterms. I think a lot of the polls are off. I can't say what the midterms are going to be. You usually lose seats in the midterms, and it's still too early to tell. But all I can say is that something is happening in the culture underneath all the talk and all the debates about this and that. Is something positive is happening because people are responding to the tone of this president. And I said to somebody while I was in New York, I think I'm having a Trump conversion experience because suddenly the way he talks is really amusing and entertaining and uplifting to me, whereas before I was always a little doubtful of it. So we'll see. We will see. But I think people like this president more than they will admit and more than they even know. So let's talk about how that affects Iran. But first, let's talk about stamps. Because we wouldn't be here, right, if we didn't have stamps.com. All of us are here because of stamps.com, because otherwise we'd be at the post office. But the thing is, the post office is great, but like everything in life, we want it in our computer, and that's how stamps.com comes in. It puts the post office into your computer. You can simply use your computer to print official U.S. postage for any letter or package, any class of mail, and let the mailman pick it up. No leaving the office, no more lugging mail to the post office, no more hassle. Stamps.com saves you time and money. Almost Everything you can do at the post office, you can do at your desk. Plus, Stamps.com has postage discounts you don't get at the post office. Not to mention, it's a fraction of the cost of those super expensive postage meters. Stamps.com makes it easy. It sends you a digital scale that automatically calculates exact postage. You'll never overpay or underpay for postage again. Create your Stamps.com account in minutes online with no equipment to lease and no long-term commitments. I use Stamps.com. I've loved the post office all my life. For a writer, they are a lifeline. But to have it in your computer is just such an advantage. It really makes everything so much easy. And right now, you can enjoy Stamps.com service with a special offer that includes a 4-week trial plus postage and the digital scale. Go to Stamps.com, click on the microphone at the top of the homepage, and type in Klavan, Klavan, Stamps.com, and enter Klavan, and you will have a happier new year sending your mail through your computer. It is great stuff. All right. We're going to talk about Iran. I think we should probably cut off you folks at Facebook and Facebook and YouTube because you haven't subscribed. You know, this is the dire punishment you suffer. But subscribe, and then you can be in the mailbag. The mailbag is tomorrow. Go on the website, send your questions in through the mailbag. Come on over to thedailywire.com. You can listen. If you subscribe while you're there, you can just watch the whole thing right on the site. It's so much easier. Talk to you over there.